Hello, this is a quick video to show preparing the tax practice return in TaxSlayer for 2017. So starting off, we're just going to go ahead and start a new tax return here. So we're going to hit select. You will notice, and you'll have to, every time you put in a Social Security number in the practice lab area, you will need to have the middle two numbers be 0. In all of the practice things that we give you, it starts off with 3 numbers and then 6 X's. So the middle numbers always need to be 0. So I'm going to throw in Robert, 102, leave the 2 zeros, and then I can put in whatever I want. I'll put 6543. I'm going to re-enter to social. Okay, one thing I didn't show real quick, it always opens up to this available profiles. We do not use these, so we always go down and hit enter social. Social's in there, we'll hit start return. So moving through, this is just saying that there might be some updates, so we can just hit continue. This should go away before we prepare returns for real. What is your filing status? So here we have, of course, the option of choosing a filing status or using the filing status wizard. Now, the wizard is very time intensive, so what we encourage you to do here is use your tax law knowledge, use your 4012, and select the filing status. It's pretty easy for Robert and Karen. They are married, filing jointly. So now we get into our personal info. So we're just going to go ahead and start entering in information. Robert, and I just like to hit tab and tab on through. Social is already in there. For date of birth, if you tab over, and then I'll hit 07, nope, I'll hit 7, I'll find it, and then 11, I hit 1, 1, and it gives me 10, and then I do 1 more 1, and it gives me 11. So that takes some getting used to, but you can do that by just typing in the numbers as you tab through instead of clicking through the whole list of numbers. We suggest that you do just hit caps lock when you start a return and leave it on for the duration of the return. Now these things are very important, but none of them apply to Robert. We're just going to keep going. Throw Karen in the spouse info. Now you see when I tabbed over, F's already came in. So it's important here to make sure that the last name is correct. There will be a lot of clients with different last names. Just make sure, and you can just go in and get rid of it and put in the correct one. Something that we see a lot of is we'll see that. So you'll go in, you'll tab over to Karen, you'll type in the last name, not realizing it was already in there. So just make sure the last name is correct. And we'll drop in the social. Oopsies. So again, we always need to make sure that those middle 2 numbers are always 0. Again, I'm going to tab over, just tap the number 4. Hit tab, 1, 1, another 1, gives me 11, and then just type in 1952. Again, none of these apply to Karen. So for addresses, I believe we do provide an address, but addresses don't really matter for the sake of practice returns. So autofill will come up, but in real life, we're not going to want to use autofill because each of our clients will be different. So I'm not going to use it. Just type in here West King. Then I tab down the zip, so 17603, and then that gives me stuff based on the zip code, so that's good. In real life, it's very important that our clients give us a good phone number to use. Practice Lab, it doesn't matter. But in case there are any issues with the return, we'll need a good phone number to get through to the client. So basic info, simply just added it in. Go ahead and hit continue. Oopsies, I typed in the same social for both of them. I switched the socials, so that'll work. There we go. So again, you see if there are any issues, it'll tell you and it'll highlight them, which is very nice. So dependents. So do they have any dependents? It looks like they do. They have Gavin and Amanda Hess. Go through here. So type in the first one, Gavin. You're going to see the same thing as that tab over. You'll see the same thing with his last name coming in. And his date of birth is 2/11/2012. Nope, that said 2017. I didn't type that fast enough. 2012. His social. He's a guy, so he's their son. Lives with them all year. Again, these important questions, but none of them apply to Gavin, so we'll hit continue. Now, this is a screen that we're going to see a lot of. Whenever we're entering something, whether it's a W-2, a 1099, a dependent, we'll enter in the individual one, and then we'll see a list of what we have. From that list, we have an opportunity to add another one, to edit the one we currently have, or get rid of it. So here we also have Amanda Hess. So we'll click to add her. Tab over, again, Hess comes up automatically. Now, again, I'm just tabbing through, but you can, of course, click on each one and choose what you want to do. So, I said the past couple times you have these important questions, but none of them apply. It does to Amanda, though. So she's over the age of 18 and a full-time student. We're just going to check that for her. Moving right along. So now, again, we have the option of adding a dependent. We can edit the two that we have, get rid of either of them. We don't have any more, so we're just going to hit continue. So, looking at our navigation plane here on the left, we're in that basic info section. So every return, you start off with basic info. Then we move from federal, health insurance, state, summary. So we're going to go through each of these, but it's important to understand how to navigate TaxSlayer. So again, once you go through basic, you have a couple choices at this point. So you can move straight through, and it'll guide you through each of these. That'll take a little bit. So anytime you go into new sections, we're in the income section here. It'll say guide me or enter myself. Guide me is quite the long, arduous process, and we don't suggest you do this. There are much easier ways to use TaxSlayer. So I'm going to hit enter myself. Once I hit enter myself, I'm in my income menu. I'm just going to have a big list of different income items that might be on this return. So it just so happens that the first one we have is a W-2. And this is a perfectly fine way to navigate through TaxSlayer. If you're trying to enter an income, hit income, choose from the list. Deductions, choose from the list. So that's a perfectly fine way to navigate, and that's how we'll start out here. So let's start our first W-2. So first thing we always need to do is choose who it's for. This one's for Robert. We have the address from the W-2, or sorry, from the first page that we entered. When we're looking at W-2s, this address and all the addresses, everything on W-2 must match the paper form. So if there's a different address on the paper form than where they currently live, you need to enter the address on their paper W-2. For the sake of this example, we won't worry about it. It matches anyway. An EIN number, again here we give you the first three numbers. You can put in random ones. For the sake of practice lab though, if you put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, something will automatically pull over. That's something from Wilmington, Delaware. Sometimes you can get lucky with a random number. I always do this. I'm practicing so I don't have to enter it in. In real life, you may get one that pulls up, but again, it must match what's on the paper W-2. So moving through, I'll put in wages is $23,621, and withholding of $23,662. Yeah, see box 3 through 6 get automatically filled in as well. So here, you can guess what you do. You make sure that they match the W-2. So you'll see here that I rounded, which is what we suggest you do, and the computer did not round. So in my W-2 in box 4, I have 1465, and this is 1464.50. So that's different. But if this was to be rounded, which is what the software will do, it would match. So that's perfectly fine. As long as when they are rounded by the software, they match what's on the W-2, you are okay. Otherwise, again, this needs to match what's on the paper W-2. And checking through, they do match. So I'll move on. We now see we have box 12. Box 12 is very important, and we always need to put in box 12 codes, assuming they're on the W-2. So in this case, there are none on the W-2, so we're not going to put it. There's also box 14. We do not use box 14 in the W-2 in the TaxSlayer, so don't put anything in there. If you have a box 12, put them in, but we do not use box 14. Moving through the W-2, here we'll select Pennsylvania. Tab on over to EIN. That should set autofill, which is nice because it already has the employer from up here. So you might have to enter that in, and I'm looking at box 15, which has the state and the EIN. Moving over to box 16 on the bottom of the W-2, 23,621, that does match. Now, TaxSlayer will always pull this number and put it down here. That is not always right, though. So going in here, we always have to make sure that this matches line 16 from our paper W-2. In this case, it does. If it doesn't, you can just hit backspace and put in whatever it should be. So again, 23,621. Moving along, box 17, 874. Local wages. That should always match the state wages, but TaxSlayer is not smart enough to pull that through for us. 19. Locality name is 36. Again, just matching what's on the paper W-2 to what goes in the TaxSlayer. So I'm going to hit continue. At this point now, we are taken back. So we have this screen again. So we can add another one. We can edit the one that's existing or get rid of it. So at this point, we'll add another W-2. Again, just going through. Making sure these match. They do. Nothing in box 12 on the paper W-2. There are box 14, but I'm not going to use that. That matches. Okay, so we just had two W-2s for this family. That's nice and easy. So we're just going to hit continue. So you can almost think in TaxSlayer of continue much like a back button. So now we're back at this income menu. The next form we have is a 1099 INT. So of course we could just click here and hit begin. But just for the sake of showing you a different way to navigate, I'm going to enter the form number. So there's a lot of 1099s, but 1099 INT. So I'm just searching for the form up here. So now it says go to form 1099 INT. I choose interest or dividend income. Well, it's interest because it's on an INT. Interest income on form 1099 INT. Hit continue. So that's just a different way of finding it other than choosing it from the menu. So in this case, it's a little bit less convenient because we were already in that menu. But if you're not already in a certain menu, using this search bar is a nice way to find things. So these are nice and easy. We'll do nice to bank. I have to choose who it's for. Who's this for? This is for Robert. He's the taxpayer. And again, just making it match the form. Now, savings bonds are something we're not going to see a lot of, but there is one thing special with savings bonds. Savings bonds are taxable to the feds, but not to Pennsylvania, or any state for that matter. So it goes down here, amount of interest in U.S. savings bonds that you want subtracted from your state return. So we have 25, none of it's taxable, so we want to make sure all 25 is subtracted, and then we just need to choose the state. So again, we're not going to see a lot of this with real VITA clients, but if you do need to remember to do this, and this is not necessarily, this will not be reported on the 1099 INT. It doesn't come with a little reminder to tell you to take it away from the state. It will just have, as you can see on the HES 1099, it will just have something in box 3. You enter it here, enter it to subtract, and then enter the state. Moving right along. All right, so here we have another one of these screens. Our next form is a 1099 DIV. So we're going to add an interest and dividends. So even though it's a div, here add interest and dividends. Dividend income from 1099 DIV, and that's what we have. Continue along. What's nice about these is you don't have to mess with an EIN number. And this is for Karen. So box 1A, we have 1256. Box 1B, what do we have, 1100, and then cascade distribution of 100. So nice and easy, again, just getting this to match up with the form. Hit continue, see the screen again. The next form we have, moving right along, is a 1099G, which is for unemployment. So that's not this, so we'll just hit continue. Again, you can think of this continue as continuing on or moving back, so hit continue again, and then we're taken back to this income page. This is where, again, I can look for it. I see it, or I can enter it in up here. So we'll just hit begin. Add or edit a 1099G. Yep, that sounds good. All right, so here's our 1099G. So I'm just going to, again, for the sake of the example, use our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. So unemployment comp, we have 1022, and tax withheld is 102. Again, everything is filled out that needs to be. Cruise down there and tell who it's for. This is for Karen. Make sure the address matches. It does. Moving right along. Again, we're taking to this familiar screen. The next form we have is a 1099R. So we don't have any other business in here. We'll hit continue on. And we're right on back to this income area. Now, one other way to navigate TaxSlayer, and again, the easiest thing to do from here is just hit begin, but just to show you, if you go to summary print, you get this linkable 1040 here. So if you know where something goes in the 1040, you can just click it. So this is for a pension, or what is it for? It's actually for an IRA, so I can hit line 15, so that 0 there is linkable. So now it takes me right to the 1099R. So now you see the choice. You can enter it from the menu. You can enter it by searching it in up here, or you can go to summary print and just clicking where it goes in the linkable 1040. That's something that is really nice about TaxSlayer is you have different options regarding how you can enter this stuff in. So you'll see in here, IRA pension, you have a choice 1099R, which is what we're going to do. The next one that we're going to do is actually Social Security benefits. But for now, we're just going to 1099R. And then we're going to move through and make sure all the information matches what's on the paper form. So this is for Karen. Again, for the sake of the example, I'm going to use this generic one. That'll fill up for me. So one thing you'll notice, I'm going to put in my 5621 in here and tab out. Taxable amount is always going to come up matching. So again, this needs to match the paper form. So it's not full, if it's not fully taxable, you just put the correct number in box 2A. But if it matches, that's great. You don't have to do anything else for that box. So in box 4, we have our tax withheld. We'll put that in, $562. The distribution code in box 7. It's distribution code 7. That will be the most common one. Hit IRA. All right. So that is everything I did. Yep, I did that. Let's move on down to the state section. You only put something in there if you want it to be taxed by the state. Now, That's where you need to just use your judgment. Well, not use your judgment, rather use your tax law knowledge. So anything on a 1099-R is not taxable to the state unless it is from an annuity or it's an early distribution. So if you want it to be taxed by the state for one of those two reasons, you can enter it into the state information. But in this case, it's a normal distribution code 7. Normal distribution is not taxable to PA. There's nothing on the actual form showing it to be taxable to PA. I put nothing for PA. What sometimes will happen is you'll have a 1099-R with a regular distribution, but the third-party administrator, whomever makes the 1099-R, will put state information, because some states do tax it. If it is not taxable to PA, you don't want to put that information because then it will tax it on this client's return. So again, this is where you need to use your tax law knowledge to figure out if you want it to be taxed to the state or not. Any normal distribution with like code 7 and only 7, just normal distribution is not taxed to Pennsylvania, so I put nothing down there. I'm going to hit continue, moving right along. So here I can add another one, or I can move along. A lot of clients with 1099-Rs will have multiple, but in this case we don't, so then we're going to hit continue, back to this menu. The next form that we have is, what do we have? We have a Social Security. So here we go, Social Security. All right, so this is a little bit confusing. We start with 3 boxes for the taxpayer and then 3 for the spouse. So this is for Karen, so we're going to start down here. If it was for Robert, we would start up here, but it's for Karen, so we start for the spouse. So that's always in that shaded box, that's $5,000. She had $500 of withholding, and her Medicare premiums were $1,200. So those are the only 3 things that we need from the 1099 SSA, Social Security. So moving through, so that actually does it for income. So at this point, we could just keep on hitting continue and move through. It'll take us through how to cut our tax bills to deductions, and then we can hit enter myself. Then we can choose from adjustment, standard deduction, and all that. So in this case, I'm looking at a form 1098-T. So I'm just going to go up here and type in 1098-E. This will take me right to it. This is super easy. $450, $450. You see how easy that was compared to going through the menus. I have a form 1098-A in front of me. I type it in up here, go right there, done. So now it drops me into the adjustments menu, which is fine. So moving along, now I have a 1098-T. So that goes for a credit. But again here, let's just type in 1098-T. There we go. Super easy. All right. So what's interesting here, all the other times we would type in like a W-2 and then it would take us to a W-2. You need not be afraid of this though. So 1098-T, the information from a 1098-T goes on to an 8863, which is where the education credits are reported. But if you notice, again, I was looking at a 1098-T, so I just typed in the form number up here and I was taken to where I need to be. So here's the student. Gavin, I think, is a little bit young to be in college, so we're going to go ahead and put Amanda. Now here you need to select the type of credit. Now this is kind of weird because TaxSlayer has you select the type of credit and then it goes through and asks you a bunch of questions to determine the type of credit. So what we suggest you do is, again, use your tax law knowledge, use your 4012 to figure out which credit they qualify for and select it. So in this case, it's American Opportunity. If while going through the process we realize, hey, they qualify for something different, do go back up here and change it. Qualified expenses. So this video is not meant to be tax law based at all, but I will note a couple of things here. On our 1098-T, we see $12,000 was paid and $5,000 of it was paid via scholarship. So we can't take the scholarship money. So that leaves us with $7,000. So I have two choices here. I can put $7,000, which is perfectly fine. The software will take care of it. But I know that the limit for American Opportunity Credit is $4,000. So something that I like to do is just look at a 1098-T. If it's going to be more than $4,000, I just put $4,000. That'll max out the credit, and then don't have to worry about it. Do $4,000 and move right along. That said, if I put $7,000, if I put $10,000, the software will know to limit it. So that's $4,000 for American Opportunity, and I believe $10,000 for lifetime learning credit. So I'm just going to leave the $4,000 in there. I'm going to cruise on down, put the institution's name, it's Clark University. All right, and here's the questions that I mentioned. So did the student receive Form 1098-T in 2017? Yes, we're looking at it. Did the student receive 1098-T in 2016 with box 2 filled in and box 7 checked? Typically they will unless they're a first-year student. That question really doesn't do too much, but you'll just want to ask the client. Now we're going to enter the EIN number. Again, that's going to come right off of the form here. So our form is 206 and a bunch of X's, so I'll just put 6 other numbers. Wonderful. All right, so in our questions here, if the Hope Scholarship or American Opportunity Credit been already claimed on 4 prior years, and these are things to ask the client. Nope. If they are in their first 4 years of post-secondary education, then the answer there is going to be no. Was the student enrolled at least half time? This is, again, very easy. Just ask the client, but also box 8 indicates that she was. Did the student complete the first 4 years of post-secondary before 2017? Nope. And then our favorite fun question, have you been convicted of a felony drug thing? No. That is something that we do have to ask the client. Probably not going to get anybody that says yes, but that will happen occasionally, unfortunately. So again here, these are the questions to determine which credit they qualified for, but we already chose that up here. So when doing these, you realize, oh, this person has been convicted of a felony related to drugs. They can qualify, I believe, for lifetime learning, so you would change that up here. Hit yes. And then, of course, if you're doing that $4,000 thing, you need to just change the limit there. So I'd put $7,000 based on the W-2 in order not to screw up our return here. Hopefully I didn't just make things more confusing. So for the HES return, it should look like this. Amanda, American Opportunity, $7,000, or you could put the $4,000 because it's limited at 4. If you put the 7, the software will know still to limit it at 4. Cruise down, got all my questions answered correctly. Continue. All right, so we can add another 8863. So if there's another 1098-T, we can do that, but there is not. So we're just going to go on and hit continue. Now we're in our credits menu. So the next thing we get is a child care receipt. So that's nice because we have our child care credit right here. So we're going to hit begin. Now this gets a little bit confusing. So there's a couple different things that we have to do here. And this is the only part of TaxSlayer that operates this way. So you see we have our total expenses, total amount paid to providers, and the difference between the two. So we're going to add a child care provider. Now I'm looking at my child care receipt from the YMCA. They have an EIN. So I'm just going to do we'll say the child care is at the same place that everything else is running through, all that enters in. Amount paid to provider for child care. $800. Not in Hawaii, unfortunately. Don't need a phone number unless you're preparing a return to California, so we're not doing that, unfortunately. Hit continue. All right, so then we're taking back here. So now we have total expenses 0. Amount paid to providers is $800, and the difference is $800. We need this difference to be 0. So if there were any other providers, we would put that in. But now we're going to go to dependents. So we see Gavin here. The software is smart enough to know that Gavin's the only one that qualifies. So we're going to hit edit. And now we're going to put the amount paid for Gavin. So if there were 2 kids, they may have paid $1,600 to YMCA. So we would put 16 in paid to YMCA, and then however much they paid for Gavin and the other kid. In this case, there's $800 that was paid to the Y, and it was all for Gavin. So now we see our total expenses is $800, plus $800 paid to providers. The difference is 0. So we're good to go now. We don't have to worry about qualified persons, again, because we have $800 here, $800 here, reflected up there. Continue to page 2. You will not need to use page 2 with VITA, so we'll hit continue. Okay, and there we have it. So our Form 2441 is complete with our total of $800, and we can hit continue to move along. So that does it for entering in the income and the credits for the Hess family. At this point, and there will be a separate video to cover Schedule A. At this point, we can go right down to health insurance, start the questionnaire. Did your family have health insurance at any time? Yes, and we're just going to go ahead and assume that that everybody had health insurance through somebody's employer all year. Have health insurance at any time? Yes. Did you purchase health insurance through the marketplace? Nope, because they had it through an employer. To verify household members, this is something that you can always just hit continue. Was your entire household insured all year? Yes. Done. So that's easy for the healthcare stuff. For the vast majority of our clients, that's all you have to do. So now we're going to add a state return. Here we have an option. We can click the little PA, or we can choose it from the list. Continue. They were a resident. Continue again. Okay, so this is one thing that we always have to remember to do. So we always go to credits, Schedule SP, which is tax forgiveness credit. And then let's keep an eye on this 148. So we're just going to say yes. That's all we need to do here. Every return we do, we should go into PA, hit credits, select yes. Sometimes we do have to add income back in. Again, that's a tax law topic. Technically, there's $25 in non-taxable interest. So you would have to add that in. Wouldn't make any difference at all, but to be technically correct, we'll add that back in. Cruise down and hit save. Now, even though we hit save, this number didn't change. So we're going to go back and then exit the Pennsylvania return. So now we're going to see the spin, and hopefully this number will change because then tax forgiveness was applied, and it did. So again, we always have to go in to PA and at least tell it to calculate SP, which is tax forgiveness. So we're just going to hit continue. So this is something that's an issue with TaxSlayer. Hopefully this will change by the time you're watching this video. If not, you can go back, make corrections, edit, enter myself, and then go into basic information, and then it just wants you to answer a question and choose a district. So not farming, and then just choose the school district. So again, you could type in Hempfield. Boom. So that's all that's done. And again, it should force you to do that somewhere else, but if not for now, hopefully that'll be fixed. But if not, that's how you fix it. So I'm going to hit continue. Then I am taken to this, again, the reviewable 1040. So I can see the first page, I can click up here, hit the second page, I can link back to anywhere I need to. So every return, you will end up here. You'll see that the menu goes away when you end up here, so you can click this, bring that menu back out in case you need to cruise somewhere else. At this point, we can hit continue. So now we're just going to continue on through and go to the e-file screen and go ahead with the return finishing process. So that is a separate video. And so that's all we have for just a very basic HES return for just the income and deductions. Excuse me, the income and then the forms will cover deductions and Schedule A in a separate video. We do not, and you will not see a lot of Schedule A, so that's why we're covering it separately. So there'll be a separate video for that and a separate video for the return finishing process. So as always, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, of course, please let me know.